Jim Lauer is already slated to take him on in that primary battle. We've got Liberal commentator, radio host Ethan Behrman. We've got Politico White House correspondent Gabby Orr and New York City Council Minority Whip Republican Joe Borelli. You know, Joe, what's weird about the whole Congressman Amash dust-up is, you know, when it's Club for Growth and all these conservative institutions, he's like a rock star. The Tea Party's made him a congressman. He became this darling of the right. And now he says a few bad things about the president. Off with his head. What happened?
Well, I don't know if he's been necessarily a darling of the right. He's also voted against hurricane funding and Kate's Law and protecting sex abuse victims. You know, I wouldn't exactly put him in my top 3 favorite members of Congress. But I think everyone can agree that this is someone who has primarily been a gadfly for most of his career. He lobbed grenades when Barack Obama was the president to get his name in the paper. And now he's doing the same thing. He saw his unsuccessful trial balloon for his own presidential ambition not take off. And now here we are. Touting phony Russian collusion talking points.
All right. Now, I think what you're talking about is he was entertaining a libertarian run for president. I could be dated on that. But, Gabby, I will say this. No matter Joe's views on this, I respect Joe a lot, obviously, but a lot of conservative groups, the ones that rate and score you, I mentioned Club for Growth, which gives them almost perfect score, and some of these others, it doesn't jibe with that. So what are you to make of this and where this is going?
I mean, he's certainly an anomaly right now. We're not going to see other Republicans sort of fall in line behind Justin Amash and call for the president's impeachment. He is simply the only one who sort of went out on a limb and suggested that that is a course of action that Congress should take. And I think that for the foreseeable future, he is going to remain one of the only Republicans to state that opinion. And the reason for that is, I mean, look at the track record of Republicans in office who have previously spoken out against the president. Jeff Flake is a perfect example of this in the Senate. He was somebody who would criticize the president often. He targeted a lot of his policies, saying that they were unfair or unconstitutional. That's sort of what we've seen with Justin Amash through his tenure in Congress in the Trump era. He's criticized the president's travel ban. He's criticized his national security declaration to get wall funding. He's criticized a number of other things that this president has done, and now he's calling for his impeachment. And you're seeing a primary challenge. We know he comes from a district that the president won with 51% of the vote in 2016. So I think it's likely that this is going to be politically disadvantageous to Justin Amash and any Republicans who follow his lead.
Ethan, what do you think of all this?
Well, I think that Republicans have lost their principles, and Justin Amash is demonstrating that it shouldn't be a partisan issue of what the Constitution says. And when we have a president who wants to go way beyond what most people would interpret the Constitution to say, and even Supreme Courts in the past have said, when you go back to Richard Nixon in 1974, and that decision was 9-0, limiting this expansive interpretation of executive power. Everything shouldn't be a political calculation. Sometimes it really should be based on principles.
But even many Democrats are saying, while they want to pursue investigations, they want to go slow on impeachment. What did you think of that?
Well, I mean, impeachment isn't the beginning. Impeachment is the end of the process, at the end of the hearing. So let's get the hearings going. I think we have enough evidence, if you bother to read the actual Mueller report, if you understand the obstruction of justice statutes, and you understand that Attorney General William Barr is actually in the minority in his expansive views of this.
We're getting sidetracked here, but why didn't Mueller move on that as a prosecutor and just say, don't leave it as a jump ball?
Because he left it to Congress. It's really Congress's responsibility to pursue these hearings and the impeachment process.
Fair enough. Let me switch gears a little, guys. Talk about challenges to an incumbent Congressman, former Democratic New York Congressman Joe Crowley. Remember, it was he who felled Alexandria Ocasio-Cortez. He is seeing the very possibility of she being challenged within her party, maybe by him. Take a look at this. So, do you think, Mug's choice, so it is, that she will be challenged for the nomination?
I suspect she probably will, but I don't have certitude on that. I suspect, though, that she will. I think that the future of the Democratic Party is a strong one because we have the ability to really have a wide breadth of vision.
No, I understand that, but is she, in her politics and her, views, more in keeping with that, or let's say yours?
I think that she has a component that is important to the Democratic base, and at the same time, it's a big base and it's a wide base. And I think that she's adding aspirationally to what Democrats want.
But Joe Borelli, if he's right, she's going to be challenged.
I actually think she will be. Look, she beat Joe Crowley because she painted Joe as a part of the D.C. establishment and someone who wasn't paying attention to his district in Queens and in the Bronx. I can tell you firsthand from my colleagues in those areas, they don't see her at the community board meetings. They don't see her fighting for the local hospitals. They see her as all Hollywood, all day, trying to get her name up in the spotlight. That's not going to play well to people who have realistic and real life problems in parts of Queens and parts of the Bronx. It's just not.
Gabby, what do you think?
No, I think that he's absolutely right. I mean, she's suffering from a fairly low approval rating in her district right now. The decision to interfere with Amazon building their second headquarters in that part of the country surely had an impact as well in how her constituents view her. And I do think that that's probably going to lead to somebody challenging her when she's up for re-election.
You know, Ethan, it's interesting, too, because if you look at these polls, and I think you would remind me, any right-thinking person would remind me that it's way too early to put much stock in them. But you know, right now, Joe Biden is running away with it with a decidedly moderate stance and not, you know, falling for or fully endorsing some of the positions that, you know, Congresswoman Cortez takes. I don't know if that's a signal that the party sees that as a winnable strategy, but would that be one that you see or take note of?
Well, I think the primary process is critical. I think that's where we battle out ideas and see what sticks the best. I think Representative Ocasio-Cortez has a bright and strong future. I think that there is a lesson here from those polls in that all politics really are local.
Yes,
so she needs to make sure she's paying attention to her district as well.
You know, looking at that, Joe, I mean, there are a lot of concerns about the same polls that show the president in Pennsylvania, for example, trailing Joe Biden by, 11 points. Now, again, I'll stress to you, as I did with Ethan, that it's way too early, but that surprised me given the fact that Pennsylvania just hit a record low unemployment rate. You could make an argument that the economic boom has certainly, hit Pennsylvania, and the president's not benefiting from it. What do you make of that?
Well, look, specifically, Pennsylvania has always been a place where Joe Biden felt he could compete, and I'm not sure that will translate to the rest of the Rust Belt states that Donald Trump had no problem picking up.
Well, where's he going to get those 20 electoral votes that he won last time if he doesn't get them in Pennsylvania this time?
There's no doubt that he has to focus on Pennsylvania. There's no doubt that Pennsylvania is going to be a battleground in 2020. All I'm saying is that Joe Biden has good name recognition in a state that is adjacent to the one that he's represented for many years. I think when you look at the Biden-Obama record, though, you're going to see one that has actually decimated the industry and jobs in Pennsylvania over the years. I don't think the president's going to hesitate for a moment to continue to point that out, and I don't think he's going to even hesitate for a moment to visit Pennsylvania as many times as it takes.
You know, it's interesting, Gabby, in this push to look, the electoral vote serves a purpose in that it forces candidates to campaign everywhere. If you had to rely on just popular vote, the Democrats would be presumably in California, New York. The Republican would set up shop in, Texas or the Farm Belt. The oddity of this situation now is that it seems to me both parties are going to concentrate on 5 or 6 states and potentially the hell with the other 44.
Yeah, we've already seen that happening in the primary. I mean, a lot of the Democratic candidates are talking about their strategies to win back the Rust Belt.
So they're going to live there, right? They're just going to sort of park there.
I think that's what you can expect to see, especially once we reach the general election. And I think that's why you have a lot of Democratic pollsters and strategists who say that the person best positioned to actually follow through on that and have a fighting chance at winning back those states is Joe Biden. We're seeing it bear out in polls, although, as you said, it is a bit early. And we're also, looking at the way that he's positioning himself. I think a lot of people on the president's campaign, a lot of people who are supportive of this president have been saying for quite some time now that Joe Biden would be pulled to the left, and we haven't really seen that take place quite yet. And if he doesn't, it's going to force President Trump to sort of readjust his messaging, because he has been focusing so much on running against a Democrat who is embracing these socialist policy ideas. And so far, that's not what Biden's doing. He's walking a very fine line when it comes to some of the proposals we've heard out of the Democratic primary field.
Ethan, finally, can he continue to walk that fine line? Should he?
That's the big
really
question.
do think Yeah, I mean, I think Joe Biden really can pull this off. I think he has an excellent chance of winning. I haven't endorsed anybody at this point, but he clearly is in the lead. He has the name recognition. He has a long track record. And most importantly, what I think really is coming out of this is his focus on connecting with the working class voter. And even though the macroeconomic indicators under President Trump may look really good, when you go and talk to people in these small towns, in the Rust Belt states, they haven't felt these great economic improvements that might be showing at the GDP level.
We shall see. Guys, I want to thank you all very, very much. By now, you know that Sprint is soaring on